Oh, good afternoon, cadre. Again, my work schedule changed a little bit this week, so I'm into afternoon, evening shaves. One new thing today, going to be using this is not something that Chris sells, but CBL Earl Grey. I think we've heard of it over the last year or so. Some people have gotten samples, and he was kind enough to include that with my last order from him. So I got it all whipped up here with my custom synthetic, and had a little maybe shaving epiphany, you might say, in terms of technique or mindset. I think it's kind of cool because, there have been folks doing this much longer than I have, some not as long, and you'd think, well, once you figure out what works for you, you're done. And no, I mean, not only are there different razors, blades you've never tried, all this stuff, but there's so many different techniques that just because you settle on one does not mean that that's the best. I don't know what it is. There's some saying about the most intelligent people are the ones that are always asking questions or something like that. You're never the person that knows the most about anything. Anyway, always good to keep listening and learning. So, shout out to KJ Spider on the Shaving Cadre. He pointed out the last shave that I videotaped, I was using a new brush that was pretty big, and I used double the amount of soap in my lather bowl. He noticed a change in the lather. It's much richer, creamier than normal. Using again, probably for the rest of this week, old timeless Wilkinson Sword blade in there. First shave on that, brand new blade. Anyway, he had made the comment that a lot of times my lather looked a little thin to him, and that he could see my skin through it. And that's probably true. I don't think all the time. Sometimes I get a nice rich lather. Sometimes, though, he's exactly right. Especially for some reason with the CBL soaps. I know the very first time I used those, I got a super rich, creamy lather. And then after that, it was kind of hit and miss, and more probably too thin than not. And what I've been doing, I think I mentioned this before, is I guess as part of the conversation on the forums, but that is when I started shaving, I'd read about people using an almond-sized scoop of soap to lather with. So that's what I started with, and it worked well. And I just think I got set on that, and kind of had this mentality that that's all you should need. That if a soap is good, you shouldn't need more product than another really good performing soap, and that's all that I would ever use. The difference being that when you load from the tub, you're loading until it looks good on your brush, until it looks like you've got plenty of soap on your brush. So I kind of mentioned that doing that technique, some soaps, I know people pay attention to their loading times with different soaps and things like that, but you're really not, you don't have, unless you're weighing your soap, which some people do, you don't really have a clue how much actual soap is in your brush. So that might self-adjust for soaps that need a little bit more product. That translates to just loading a little bit longer. You end up with more on your brush. and you get your good lather. Whereas putting it in a lather bowl, I'm predetermining how much product I'm going to use. So, the part that kind of made me get over that a little bit is when he pointed out that given how much soap we own, you know, why, you know, it's almost like we do find ways to use a little bit more soap than we need to. Although I was kind of doing the opposite of that unconsciously. Again, not everybody, but I know some of us on the back of our head are like, you know, if I could use up some of these soaps, it would again justify being able to get more soaps. And as long as they're all sticking around and I never use them up, and it's kind of a little silly to keep buying more, even though we do. I'm just going to move this light away a little bit. So, KJ, curious what you think of this. I do think it's a little thicker than I normally get with CBL soaps. I did use double the amount of product, and I might just do that from now on, just especially with the softer soap. Some of the harder soaps, I know when I use a little bit too much and I end up having residual in the lather bowl that I kind of have to scrape out because it's smeared onto the sides and it doesn't come off easily. But anyway, I think this might be a good change. Christmas is coming. Got my reindeer exchange present in the mail today. I'll keep the sender anonymous until Christmas, but I do know who it is. He did say it was okay to open the package. Inside was a nice little note. Then some wrapped and some unwrapped presents, so that was pretty cool. So the wrapped ones are under the tree. Starting to get Christmas cards. I think we've got most of our shopping done. I know a long time ago, I said as we get closer to Christmas, we talk more about traditions and stuff, and so I thought about doing that. Now the shave goes pretty quick with this razor, and kind of just using something that's easy to get it done. But I thought I'd mention Advent calendars, because I think that's one really cool tradition my family has that my parents have carried on until our adulthood. I may have mentioned this again, but again, you can skip the rest of the video if you've heard this one. But you know, my mom, when we were kids, we had big Advent calendars. We're talking like big wall hanging things that were handmade out of felt and fabric and had, you know, 25 pockets of different sizes, and you know, she got fabric that had like some scene or design on it and then cut it up, so you know, there'd be a star on one pocket and a Wiseman here, that kind of stuff. And then they would wrap up 25 little presents to put in there. Sorry, I didn't get my stuff out this time. I don't remember as a kid what they were. Some were probably little toys and things. I think we probably got candy back then, but they never stopped doing it. Into college, into adulthood. I still have an Advent calendar that my mom made, and my parents wrap up now 50 little gifts. Usually they're wrapped together, but one for me, one for my wife for every day. And most of them are just, you know, a little piece of candy, something like that. This year they did something they've never done before, and each pocket has a little gift and a bag of puzzle pieces. And it turns out that they sent us a crossword puzzle. So we have a big, fairly large paper crossword puzzle to do, and the puzzle is the same crossword puzzle but completed. So as we get through the days, slowly it'll start revealing some hints and things like that to us. So it's pretty cool. And then, excuse me, I'm getting a little cold or something too. In addition to mine, which I share with my wife, my sister also gets one. I've gotten one every year for forever, which she now shares with her husband. And then they do that for each of the grandkids. They share an advent calendar, but some years they put 3 separate little gifts of the same thing. I think recently they've been wrapping 3 things in one package, but they all get something. There's lemon. And then my sister's boy gets one too. And then our girls, they also get a puzzle this year, and it's a photo that's been turned into a puzzle, so they're kind of guessing as to what the parts of the puzzle are and stuff as they put it together. They don't know what it's going to look like, but you can just imagine how much work that is. There's 1, 2, 6, 7, 8 people that are getting Advent gifts from my parents that all have to be wrapped up and for us boxed up and shipped down here in time and all that stuff. So anyway, that's pretty cool. So that's one of our ongoing long-term traditions. And then the other one is the stockings. Again, a handmade thing that I know for sure started with my father's grandma, so my great-grandmother. I don't think it went farther back than that. It may have, but at that time, everybody in the family had a handmade stocking. I'll have to show you one sometime. But exactly the same design and little cutouts of felt or something at that time. So there's a little candy cane, and it'd be like a little white candy cane cut out with little red felt pieces to make the thing, and little drummer boy and all this stuff. So kind of intricate, not huge, but all the same design with your name stitched into it across the top. And then as people were added to the family, they got exactly the same design made, their name stitched across the top in the same kind of typeface. So that's pretty cool that's been going on for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that right? 5 gender? 1. Hold on. Wait. I'm tired. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 generations. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I mean, you see these other stockings out there and think, oh, it would be fun to have this and be fun to have that, but there's a lot of new stuff that gets added, and we get new decorations every year and all that, but some things it's just much better to keep the traditions alive, so you have something that is very familiar every year and all that. So anyway, thank you for joining me for my shave. I'm sorry, I should have talked about that Earl Grey. I'd written Chris a little wondering if I got in the right soap, because I didn't get much tea scent. It was very much, it's like a fresh soap almost. And I should have stopped and paid attention to it, but I'm kind of gonna stick with that. If it's a tea, it could be more of a white tea, but I'm not getting that kind of, acrid, acidic, kind of that black tea note that I really love, that separates that out from green teas and white teas and things like that. But it is more of a lot of times these kind of soaps would be called, winter air or meadow air or whatever, after the rain air, they talk about fresh, clean scents. That's what I'm getting out of the Earl Grey more than anything else. But not bad. Just I don't get a tea, but it'll certainly get used up. So I appreciate Chris being very generous constantly with sharing what he's working on and he's worked on in the past and all that with members of the cadre. So that's it for me, and I'll see you on the forums.